Hello and welcome to the Humane Books video.
My name is Courtney Jones and I am a children's book reviewer with Booklist magazine. It is the American Library Association's book review journal, and I am so excited to talk with you about humane education today.
I'm excited to talk with you as well. My name is Kudia and I am the Chicago Program Manager for HEART. HEART is a humane education organization. So what we'll be discussing is we'll be sharing some books that promote humane behavior towards animals, people, and the environment. And then we're going to categorize it into three categories. The first one is windows, mirrors, and sliding glass doors. Then we'll be talking about informative, and then the last category will be aspirational. In addition to sharing with you some books, we'll also be sharing with you some resources that you can use to find additional humane books.
Our first category is windows, mirrors, and sliding doors. This is a concept that was created by Rudine Sims Bishop. And the idea behind windows is that we see into another experience. It creates empathy within us when we see other experiences. Mirrors are reflecting experiences, things that validate our own experience when we see it reflected in the literature that we read. Then beyond that, we have the sliding glass doors. These are transformative experiences and often provide connection between readers in the reflected experience and readers in the windows experience. Rudine Sims Bishop said, "Books are sometimes windows, offering views of worlds that may be real or imagined, familiar or strange. These windows are also sliding glass doors, and readers have only to walk through an imagination to become part of whatever world has been created or recreated by the author. When lighting conditions are just right, however, a window can also be a mirror. Literature transforms human experience and reflects it back to us, and in the reflection we can see our own lives and experiences as part of a larger human experience. Reading then becomes a means for self-affirmation, and readers often seek their mirrors in books."
So we're going to share some books that we think we can apply Rudine Sims Bishop's idea of windows, mirrors, and sliding glass doors. So the first one is the book, This Is How We Do It. This is a great window, in my opinion, about the lives of young people who live all around the world. So the author of this book, he lived with these different families, and he shares what the children did for fun, what they ate, where they go to school. And what I really like about this book is that it teaches about the lives of people living all over the world, but doesn't do it in a way that relies on stereotypes or generalizations. So this book, it shows the lives of these individual families, but it's not saying that, like everyone in the country eats the same way or dresses the same way.
One of a Kind Just Like Me is about a boy that wants to dress as a princess at a school costume party. It's an excellent window or mirror for children with expansive gender expression. Girls Like Us focuses on the protagonists Quincy and Biddy, young women on the cusp of adulthood who recently graduated from their high school special education program. They now have to navigate the hardships of adulthood by supporting each other. This is an excellent mirror for older readers who themselves might find themselves educated from their special education program.
Books can also be windows into the lives of animals. So one great example of that is the book Hey Little Ant. So this is about a boy, he's about to step on an ant, and then the ant explains his perspective. He explains to the young boy why he shouldn't step on him, why he cares about his family, how he only takes the crumbs to feed his family. And some people might argue that this book is problematic in the way that it anthropomorphizes the ant. Ants can't really talk and they can't really sit down and eat dinner with their family. However, I think this book has a really powerful message about animals and also gives you a window into their lives. And that really powerful message is that all animals, including insects, value their lives, and that's why it's important that we take their lives into consideration with our actions. Another book that gives the perspective of an animal, so the window into the life of an animal, is Buddy Unchained. So Buddy Unchained is about a dog who has a neglectful owner, and it's written in first person, which I find especially powerful in helping young people see the perspective of others. In the book, he is rescued and he's taken to a loving family, so don't worry, it has a happy ending.
The Great Kapok Tree is about a man who is about to cut down a tree, but he falls asleep, and in his dream, the people and animals who live in the tree explain to him why he shouldn't cut it down. This is a sliding doors experience, and it's transformative not only for the protagonist, but also for the readers.
And then last under this category is the book Dear Children of the Earth. So this might be a little bit of a stretch, but we're considering this a type of window because it gives the perspective of the Earth. And in the book, the Earth writes a letter to the children who live there, explaining how we are all one organism and how all the beautiful things that live in the planet. It has this amazing art, and then it also explains to children why it is so important that they take action to preserve this planet. So in addition to providing windows, mirrors, and sliding glass doors, books that help you empathize with others, that reflect yourself, that helps you transform into the lives and the opinions and emotions of others, it's also important to have books that are informative. A really good example of this, that epitomizes the importance of informative books is this quote by Maya Angelou, who wrote, "Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better." So a lot of times people will do things that are inhumane, and it's not because they're mean or cruel or bad people. It's just because sometimes they just don't know any better. Books are a great way to educate young people so that they can make better choices for people, animals, and the planet.
For instance, May I Pet Your Dog? This gives young people step-by-step instructions for approaching a dog. There are many people who have been bitten or they've had unpleasant experiences with dogs at a young age, and it's resulted in them disliking dogs. This book is a great way to help young people learn how to interact with animals in a way that is safe for them and for the dogs.
Another really informative book is the book Hope. This book is the true story of a pig who was rescued from a factory farm. And what I really appreciate about this book about being informative is that a lot of times young people don't know about the reality on farms. So when you look at a lot of children's books, when they talk about farms, they show farms. It's only maybe a couple animals living on the farm. They have lots of space. They're living outside. But the reality is that most animals are raised on factory farms where they can't move around, they're kept indoors, they're in very crowded conditions. So this book is a great way of educating young people about the reality of our food systems so that they can make better, more informed choices about food, especially as they grow up.
All the Way to the Ocean is about two friends who are hanging out, and one of them throws a candy wrapper down the sewer drain. The other friend then educates the friend who littered about the sewers and how they empty into the ocean and the problems that litter causes when it enters the ocean ecosystem.
The next book is How We Know What We Know About Our Changing Climate. So climate change is an issue that's complicated, it can be confusing even to adults, and what's great about this book is that it breaks down this issue into information that's very easily understood. It doesn't sugarcoat things, so climate change is a very important issue, and I think this book does a great job of being age appropriate, but then also honest with young people. And then it also gives some great tools that young people can use to help with this issue so they feel empowered.
Africa is My Home, A Child of the Amistad, is a fictionalized account of a true story of the Amistad. It focuses on a 9-year-old protagonist and her life in Africa before she was captured and made into an enslaved person and transported to the United States of America. What's notable about this particular book is that it is excellent research. It is so well researched. There is phenomenal back matter in the back of the book that focuses and helps children understand what it was like to be an enslaved person within the United States.
Going along with what Courtney said about having really great information and well-researched, another book that epitomizes this is A Young People's History of the United States. This book was written by Howard Zinn, and a lot of times when we look back at history or we look at the history books, it's told from the perspective of the elite or those in power. And what's great about this book is it gives the perspective of people who are often overlooked or marginalized in the history book. So it tells the perspective of slaves, of immigrants, of women, of Native American workers, dissenters, people who are often not included in the history books, but who have a very important message about how our country came to be the way it is.
Our final category is aspirational books. They can inspire us to take action, to be better people, better to other people, better to animals, or better to the environment. We have a quote here from Malala Yousafzai. It says, "Let us remember, one book, one pen, one child, and one teacher can change the world."
So one book that I find especially inspirational is the book Manuels Dream. So this is a true story about Emmanuel Yebo. And Emmanuel was born with a deformed leg. It caused a lot of challenges for him, but he never let that stop him from doing the things that he wanted. The book follows his life, and then it shows how he decided to bike across the country of Ghana. And the reason he did this was because he wanted to raise awareness about disabilities. And as he'd go from town to town in Ghana, he'd share the message that disability does not mean inability.
Radiant Child is the biography of artist Jean-Michel Basquiat, and it harnesses his passion for art and embraces the messy, complicated, and even ugly process of creating.
Next is Step Right Up, How Doc and Jim Key Taught the World About Kindness. So I love this story. It's a true story about Doc and Jim Key. Doc Key, he was born a slave, and then after the Civil War ended, he decided that he would race horses. So he bought a horse who gave birth to Jim Key. And Jim was born very sickly and weak, and people told Doc, you should just get rid of Jim. He can't, win any races. There's no point in having him, and he refused. So Doc decided instead that he would train him, and eventually he taught Jim how to read, how to write, and how to do math. And they'd give presentations all across the country, which would amaze people. And when people would ask him how he trained the animal, he'd explain that he used kindness and positive reinforcement. He built a relationship with the animal. That is how he got him to do these amazing things. Another really great tidbit about Doc Key was that he's also one of the first humane educators. So what he did was he'd go to schools as well and give these presentations, and then at the end of it, he'd have kids take the Jim Key Pledge, where they promise to always be kind to animals.
The Bravest Cat, the true story of Scarlet, is about a cat who saves 5 kittens from a house fire. It is adorable. And also, it shows that you don't necessarily have to be big or particularly strong or even a human being to be a hero. Seeds of Change focuses on the work of Mama Miti, 2004 Nobel Prize recipient and scientist who planted trees in Kenya to revitalize the biodiversity of her home country. It encourages readers to think about the small acts of environmentalism that can make a big difference. Next, we have Native Defenders of the Environment. Now, this is part of a larger series. However, this book focuses on 12 brave Native people who work to protect the environment. It's great representation for older readers interested in conservation.
And the next book is by a colleague of mine who works at Heart. So this book is Secret of the Troublemakers. And this book is about how the people that have made a difference throughout the history of the world, there are people who were troublemakers. And they weren't troublemakers, just trying to cause trouble for people. They were troublemakers who were using their abilities to change things so that it was for the better. So when they saw that people, animals, the environment were not being taken care of, they would speak up because they weren't afraid to cause trouble for things that were important in this world.
And last but certainly not least, we have a bunch of resources for you today. The American Library Association, again, Booklist is the review journal of the American Library Association. However, I do not represent them today, but they do have many, many different resources for you if you're interested in diversifying your library. This includes the Por Bel Pre Award, which focuses on Latinx authors and illustrators, and then the Rainbow List, which focuses on LGBTQ authors, illustrators, and then also themes within books. The Coretta Scott King Book Award focuses on African American authors and illustrators. And then there are organizations within the American Library Association, such as the Asian Pacific American Library Association and the American Indian Library Association. These groups have their own lists and awards. In fact, Native Defenders was one of the recipients of an American Indian Library Association award. And then there are just so many more that I've said, and many more at the ALA's Youth Media Awards. You can find them at ala.org/YMA.
And then in addition to that, Heart also has resources on our website. So we have a list of recommended books. So to see our book list, go to teachheart.org/humane-books. So we categorize it by age, so the age range for these books, and then also about the focus area. We'll put them into categories based on whether they focus on people, animals, or the environment. Thank you so much for listening to our video. We know that this was not all the great books and resources that are out there, but we hope that we gave you some good ideas and some good tools that you can use with the young people in your life. Thank you so much.
Thank you.